Hi, I'm Kira. I'll be taking you through a workout with just a chair. Starting with squats. Stand up out of your chair, sit your hips back, and tap the seat of the chair. As you send your hips back, shift weight into your heels. Keep your chest lifted, gaze forward, and shoulders down. As you stand tall, engage your glutes and press your hips forward so that the hips are right under the shoulders. When you're ready, you can add in a hop. So finding your squat and then hopping at the top. Still tapping the seat to the chair. Keeping the chest lifted as you lower the hips. Moving into a lunge, step forward, we're elevating the back leg. Square the hips off to the front of the room, shoulders over hips, bend and stretch the front leg. Finding a neutral spine, heavy tailbone. Avoid overarching in the lower back. Keep the shoulders down, core engaged. Switching legs. Squaring off the hips to the front of the room. Keeping the core engaged to find stability on one leg. Making sure you're not sticking your bum out. Last 2 and 1. From here, lying down, we'll take our heels up onto the seat of the chair. Tailbone stays on the floor, hand over hand to the back of the head. Exhale to peel the shoulders off the floor. Inhale to lower. This is our ab curl. Sliding your rib cage towards your hips as you lift the shoulder blades. Finding an exhale to ab curl. Moving into oblique curls, we'll lift one shoulder blade at a time, looking from one side of the room to the other. Alternating sides. Good. Keeping the hips stable, tailbone on the floor. One more on each side. Lift the head, neck, and shoulder blades. Keep the shoulder blades lifted. Reach towards the legs of the chairs. Reach to one side at a time. Shortening one side of your waist at a time. Keep the shoulder blades lifted. Hips stay still. Shorten the side of the waist to reach towards the leg of the chair. Lower the head, neck, and shoulders. Moving into a sequence bridge. Tuck the tailbone, lift the hips high off the floor, and then roll down one vertebrae at a time. Good. We're peeling one vertebrae at a time off the floor and then lowering one vertebrae at a time down to the floor. Engaging the glutes to press the hips high, keeping the shoulders down. Knitting the ribs together in the front of the body. Coming off the ground, we'll make our way to seated, facing the side of the chair. Take the arm to the back of the chair, lean the shoulders behind the hips, keep the core engaged, and lift the legs into a tabletop position. Option to take your hands off the chair only if you feel ready. Shoulders down away from the ears, static hold. Keep breathing. Good. Take your hands to your chair, lower the legs. Take a breath. We're trying that one more time. This time, option to come out 1 inch and in 1 inch. So leaning back a little bit further and then sitting up just an inch. Option to reach the arms forward. Good. Keeping the shoulders down. Keep breathing. Hands to the chair and lower your legs. From here, we'll take the hands to the seat of the chair, step the feet back, and find a plank position. Finding a long line from the heels to the head. Core is engaged, navel hugging into the spine. Breathing, just static hold. And then send the hips back, feeling a stretch in the backs of your legs, hinging forward at the hips. Find your plank again. Core stays engaged. Option to bring in opposite shoulder taps, lifting one hand at a time to the other shoulder. Keeping the hips as still as possible by really engaging the core and the glutes as well. Send the hips back, forward fold. Option to soften the knees, especially if you have tight hamstrings. We'll come into a side plank. Lift the rib and hip away from the floor. Keep space between the shoulders and the ears. Come back to a regular plank. Taking those shoulder taps one more time. Keeping the hips as still as possible. Side plank on the other side. Lifting the rib and hip. Find that forward fold. Again, option to have the knees soft. Drop the upper body down and roll it up. Take a seat on your chair. We're going to shimmy forward, taking your hands to the edge of the seat. Seat comes off your chair. Bend the elbows to drop your hips down and then push yourself back up. Coming into tricep dips. Try to keep your hips under your shoulders. So the hips are going straight down and straight up. Shoulders away from the ears. Keep breathing. Come back to your chair and take a few big shoulder rolls up and back. Coming onto your side, take your elbow right under your shoulder, take your top leg to the seat of the chair, lift your hips into a side plank position. We're just finding a static hold. So engaging the core, lifting the rib and hip away from the floor, hold it here. Lower your hips down, take a breath, get back into your side plank. We're lifting and lowering that bottom leg. Breathing. Last 2 and 1. Take the hips down, knees sways. Then rolling over to the other side, take the elbow right under the shoulder, lift the hips into a side plank, static hold. Drawing the navel to spine. And lower the hips. Take a breath. We're getting right back into that side plank, option to lower and lift that bottom leg. Good, finding stability through that top leg and lower the hips. Come back into your knee sways. Making your way onto your hands and knees. We'll lift one leg onto the chair, hands under the shoulders. Engage your core and pick up that bottom knee to a hover and lower. Good. Think the core is working to pick up that knee. So it's less about the hips moving up and down than it is really drawing the navel to spine, finding your neutral spine so we're not overarching or over tucking in the pelvis, and then hovering the knee. Switching legs. Good. Make sure you're not overarching in the pelvis. When you're ready, lifting that bottom knee. Spreading the fingers and pressing into the palms of the hands. Then take both feet off, find a child's pose. Take a deep breath, hands under the shoulders. We're lifting both feet onto the seat of the chair, keeping the core engaged and holding our plank here. Again, making sure that we're not overarching or over tucking in the pelvis. Drawing the navel to spine, but still breathing. Lower the legs. We're making our way to standing. You can come to the back of your chair, hands on your chair. Rising up onto the tippy toes and then lowering the heels. We'll keep that core engaged. The chair is there for stability, but if you can test taking your hands off and finding a balance. Hold the heels lifted. Take the heels together, toes apart, so we're working in an external rotation. Lift and lower the heels. Keeping that core engaged the whole time. Test yourself by finding a balance at the top. And then lower the heels. Walk your feet back, hinge forward at the hips, have a soft bend in your knees. Extend one leg, engage the glute to lift the leg, and then lower. Make sure that your glute is working to lift the leg rather than arching your back. Don't worry about height, worry about sensation. Keep the core engaged. Bending the knee, engaging the glute to press the heel high. Again, avoiding overarching in the lower back, keeping the core engaged in the front of the body. Chair is there for stability. Lift and lower the thigh to the side of the body now, feeling a wrapping sensation in the glute without moving the hips. Again, keeping that core tight. Switching legs, extend that other leg. Find your neutral spine. And then lift and lower the leg. Good, keeping the core engaged. When you're ready, bending that knee will engage the glute to press the heel high. avoiding overarching in the lower back, drawing navel to spine and ribs together in the front of the body. And then opening the thigh to the side of the body. Keeping the hips level with one another, feel the wrapping sensation in the glute to open that thigh. Keeping the core stable. From here, we'll come back to our core one more time, laying on your back. We'll elevate those feet to the seat of the chair, hand over hand to the back of the head, ab curls. Exhale to lift the shoulder blades, inhale to lower. Exhale to lift, inhale to lower. Let the hands support the weight of your head. Keeping the hips heavy on the floor. Moving into oblique curls. Looking from one side of the room to the other, peeling one shoulder blade off the floor at a time. Rotating from the ribs. From here, lift the head, neck, and shoulder blades. Reach for the legs of the chair, shortening one side of your waist at a time. Keeping your hips stable. Lower the head, neck, and shoulders. We'll move into a hinge bridge. So hips straight up, straight down. We're no longer articulating through the spine. Just engage the glutes, press the hips high, and then lower with control. Pressing down into your arms for stability. Holding the hips high at the top of your bridge, coming into flies, open the arms wide to the side of the body and reach up over the shoulders, keeping your hips stable, shoulders away from the ears. Lower the arms and then lower the hips. We'll take the legs off the chair. Make your way to standing. Take a seat. Take one heel over the other knee. Open the knee to the side and hinge forward at the hips, finding a long spine and breathing. Back to seated, switch legs. Hinging forward at the hips, making sure the lower back is elongated. Sit up tall, uncross the legs. Thank you so much for joining me.